Good morning, everybody, and welcome to another amazing day of ELA. I'm so happy you're here with me today, and we are going to get some work done, all right? You guys have been working so hard with this story, Heartbeat, okay? We have read it for some of you multiple times. We have done the book questions, you have done the plot diagram, you have done the analyze the text questions, right? So you have looked at this story quite a bit, okay? So what we're gonna do today should be super easy for you because of how much work you guys have put into this, and I am so proud of you for sticking with it. So I wanted to quickly back up just a little bit. There we go. So I wanted to quickly go over the plot diagram that we talked about yesterday to kind of review some of the important parts of the story Heartbeat. So we start off with Dave's friends call him Heartbeat because he is so skinny and people assume he's weak. Okay, this is our exposition. This is the beginning of our story. And we could say he doesn't like his nickname, right? This is not a positive thing that he's happy he's being called Heartbeat, right? He doesn't like being called Heartbeat. He doesn't like people assuming that he's weak, even though he is a 3-sport athlete, okay? Then, the inciting incident, or the thing that just makes the story continue going, right? There's like a spark, and there it goes. The girl he likes said, "Oh my gosh, you are so skinny." Okay, so this girl, Sarah, the crush, he loves her so much. He wants her to be his girlfriend. And this stops right here because he then tries to get thicker by working out and eating a lot, right? So he starts to consume a lot. He starts to pump iron. He's like, I'm gonna get thicker. But it doesn't seem to work. He then realizes that he can get the look of being thicker by wearing multiple layers of clothes. Okay, so he kind of is like, I've been working really hard, I've been eating, I've been working out, but nothing's changing. Oh wait, I can just fake it. Then our climax of our story, okay, or the turning point or where things shift, okay, at the party, Dave almost passes out and realizes he looks like a miserable, frustrated puffball, okay, right? So he is just like, why am I doing this? Why am I doing this? Why am I putting myself and making myself miserable and putting all these layers on? All because I hated my nickname? Like, all because I'm trying to impress this girl? Like, is this really worth it? Then we have our falling action as the story starts to come to a close and some of those loose ends start being tied up. He forgets the pile of clothes at the party and he takes that as a sign to stop wearing extra layers, okay? So he's like, I got home and I realized I wasn't wearing all those extra layers and I actually was enjoying myself. Whoa, maybe I should take this as a sign to not try to change myself, right? And be okay with myself. Then finally, our resolution, or how our story comes to a close, or how this problem of him being skinny, how does his insecurity get solved, right? How does that happen? He decides to be himself and remind himself, I am lean and mean. So even though some of those negative thoughts still exist in his head, he's reminding himself, right, that he is not disgustingly thin, right? He's going to say, you know what, I'm a 3-sport athlete, I am strong. It doesn't matter if I look the way other people think I should look, right? I'm going to be happy with where I'm at and who I am. Okay, so these are kind of the big plot points. And there's some other things in here too, in the story too, that definitely make an impact, but these are some of the big ones. Okay, so what we are going to do today is you guys are going to be writing a summary. Okay, this is going to be the second summary of this school year. So a summary, if you remember, is like a really quick 1-paragraph kind of what happens, right? It's like a shortened version of the story. You're including all the important points. And to remind us, we need to include the who, right? Who are the main characters in the story, right? You got to make sure you talk about them, right? Those are important people. So we got to definitely talk about Dave. Maybe we talk about Sarah. Maybe we mention his friends, calling him Heartbeat. What was the problem that occurred? What was the conflict, right? There was two conflicts, right? There was the internal conflict of him being insecure because he cared about what other people thought about him. And then there's the conflict with Sarah as we get closer to the climax. How did the character deal with the problem? What happened while they were trying to solve the problem, right? As Dave was trying to get thicker because he really cared about what other people thought of him, right? There was things that happened, right? He tried to eat, he tried to work out, and then he was wearing all the extra layers, right? And then why? What did the character learn? How did they change, right? And this is where we can talk about the resolution, right? Why? He was insecure, he was really unsure of himself, but at the end, we see that he had to learn to accept where he was at and who he was and put less weight or less care into what other people thought of him. Okay? So, let's see. Can you see all this? Let's see. All right. So, this is an example of a mirror image paragraph summary from last time, and we're going to talk about what it does well and what it doesn't do well so that we can do even better when we write about our heartbeat summary. Okay, so in the story mirror image, by Lena Coakley, a girl named Alice had got into an accident and her brain was not damaged, but her body was dead. So she got her brain put into a girl named Gail's body. Now she looks different, but inside she is herself. Her sister thinks she is a different person though, because she does do some different things and she's a morning person and hangs out with different friends. Her sister even said, sometimes I think my sister is dead. In the end, she meets the Jareds, who are the donors of her new body. Mrs. Jared thinks that Alice is Gail, her body. She meets Mr. Jared and has no memory of him other than on TV. While they talk, Mr. Jared tells Alice that he looked at her and didn't see his daughter. Now she is more sure that she is still herself. Okay, so this is a student submitted paragraph from way back when, and we're going to talk about what it does well, and then we're going to talk about what it needs to improve as we kind of do this, okay? So, some of the things it does well, right? In the story Mirror Image by Lena Coakley, okay? So it's giving me the title and it's giving me the author. Two very important things, okay? It also talks about the inciting incident, okay? What causes the story to continue? What kind of causes the conflict? What is the conflict here? A girl named Alice had gotten to an accident and her brain was not damaged, but her body was dead, so she got her brain put into a girl named Gail's body. Okay? So this is the conflict, right? Or it starts the conflict, right? Because similarly to Dave, then her changing her body made her feel insecure. Okay? And then it does another thing well. It uses a piece of text evidence. Sometimes I think my sister is dead. Right from the text, we can tell because it uses those quotation marks, okay? And then while it talks about the solution of the story, right? While they talk, Mr. Jared tells Alice that he looked at her and didn't see his daughter. Now she is more sure that she is still herself, okay? So it does a lot of things well, but there's also some things that it could be improved. So the first of all, here we do get the inciting incident, and we get the conflict with her sister, but the main conflict is her insecurity, and we don't get that here, okay? So that's one thing. If we want to talk about the main conflict, not just a conflict. We can talk about both, but we want to make sure we get the main conflict in there. So I would have loved to see something in this paragraph about how Alice is insecure in her new body, okay? Now she looks different, but inside she is herself. Again, we get a hint, but again, I would have loved to see, because she looked different from her twin sister, she was insecure or something like that. Okay, the other thing, she does have a quote here, or the student has a quote, but it doesn't have the page number. Okay, so we want to make sure that when we're giving a quote, yes, we use our quotation marks, but we also want to give the page number of where we found it in the text. Okay, so that's another thing that it could do well, that it could be improved upon. Okay, so based on that, okay, when you are writing your summary for Heartbeat, make sure that you are including all of those things. One little tidbit, okay, for those who might be struggling, okay, when we're talking about a story and we're trying to talk about a summary and like first this happens, then this happens, then this happens, we want to use transition words exactly like how I said. So we have first, next, then finally, okay? Or first, another, finally. First of all, besides, in addition, okay? So something like this, we want to make sure that we are using these transition words to help the reader keep along of like, first, he was called Heartbeat, and then the girlfriend, and then this, and then that, right? We want to make sure that we are keeping track and being very concise about the order of things and making sure that we're using these types of transition words, like to begin, at the same time, finally, okay? So we want to make sure that we're using these transition words. So if this helps you, take a look at this, use some of these when you're writing your paragraph. So what you're going to do is you're going to open Google Classroom, and then you're going to open the Heartbeat Summary Assignment. It is going to bring you to this document right here. Let's see if I can make this bigger for us. Maybe. And then let's make it bigger here. All right, so you should definitely be able to see that, and I'll just bring this in a little bit closer. Okay, so Heartbeat by David Yu Summary Assignment. Here are the directions. Write a summary of the story Heartbeat by David Yu. That is on pages 103 to 106 in your HMH textbook. Okay, you must include the title, the author, the main characters of the story, the problem that occurred, the conflict, right, internal or external, whoops. How the character dealt with the problem, and what the resolution to the story was. Okay, so all of the points on our plot diagram that we did yesterday. Okay, you must include at least one piece of text evidence. That means using our quotation marks and writing exactly from the story. Make sure to mark your quotation with quotation marks and the page number where you found that quote. Okay, your summary should be at least 5 sentences long. Okay, so I know 5 sentences might seem like a lot, but the other one that we looked at for our example that had all of those pieces and actually maybe could have used a little bit more was probably about 7 or 8 sentences long, okay? And that wasn't very much, okay? So once you get going and you start writing, I'm sure it will seem like it just, you're not even counting sentences anymore, okay? But make sure that it's at least 5. Again, one of your sentences is probably gonna be your text evidence, so that even takes away one of those sentences for you, okay? But just don't count sentences, just make sure you have all this information, okay? So again, you must include the title, the author, the main characters, the problem, how the character dealt with that problem, the resolution, and one piece of text evidence, all right? So I'm gonna give you the rest of the time here to get typing. If you need help, raise your hand. Please remember to stay in your seat. If you need help, do not get up, raise your hand. I will come to you. We will figure it out together, all right? be good. I hope you do an awesome job. I'm really proud of you. I'm excited to read these paragraphs, all right? Have a good day. Bye, guys.